I'll concede your point just for brevity. But
What? Brevity? We don't do that around here. It's probably
No.
Citrus, or what is a Capital One Bowl? It used to be Citrus Bowl, right?
oh my
Capital
God,
One.
dude, where have you been?
I just like the real name.
It hasn't been the Citrus Bowl since 2002?
What was your highlight side dish from Thanksgiving?
Oh gosh, Scotch.
This is the Buck Around, the podcast devoted to all things Wisconsin Badger football from a fan perspective. Featuring your hosts, Richard Branch and Maxwell Brusky.
And hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Buck Around. Welcome back to episode 358 of the Buck Around, a game week recap Buck Around. This is so exciting. The guy that's so excited is Richard Branch. That is one half of the Buck Around. That is me. And I am joined today, as always, by my... what are we going to call you today? I don't have a good one. I'm just going to call you Happy, colleague, because I'm always trying to come up with something hard. But I think you're just happy we're here. Here he is. Always pushing papers around. The one, the only Maxwell Brusky. Max, how are you, sir?
I am. It's for all the talking that I did over the weekend or Thursday night and into Friday and into the glorious Labor Day weekend. All I said was there's more positives than negatives.
We can say that now that we know that theoretically Billy Edwards still has a knee.
That's true. Yes, that would be a big negative if that had gone the other way.
Because it would have been an
Another way.
all-time historical Badger broadcast moment if we got to listen to Moneyball doing bad trivia as they're carting him off.
Was that ridiculous or what? I mean, I feel I get it, and it's kind of cool, and it's game one, and it's Thursday night, and all that stuff, and I get it, but it was the timing was really bad.
It was terrible.
I'm not gonna say weird; it's just really bad.
Well, when they showed
Hey,
the
look
booth,
at that! Billy
Yeah.
Edwards just got carted off.
what do you know
think?
about Tim Crumry? No, but the
That was
best
so
part was
weird. Yeah.
they show the shot of the booth, and you can see what's her Lisa Byington's eyes. Like, oh man, how do I do this?
Yeah, I
segue?
know. And Lisa clearly, she knew what happened, and she's doing the best she can. She's like, "Holy shit, this
Yes.
just happened again to Wisconsin."
And they're like, we got to get Moneyball to stop talking about 2010 Iowa for a second, or whatever he was
Oh
talking
my
about.
God! And that's the other part of that. I thought that was so cool. You got to hear about 2010 Iowa right before that happened, and again, the timing was just so bad.
Yeah.
It's
So,
bad.
anyways,
It's so
the weight
bad.
is off our shoulders there. That definitely weighed into a lot of the talk around calls, which came in over the course of the weekend. Thank you to everyone who did call in. It was great to hear you at 347-77-Buggy. So I think without further ado, shall we segue into the listener calls, listener reactions, listener thoughts, and they can help drive the conversation for us.
I resisted the urge to call in right after Tyrell Henry didn't catch that first punt, so I waited till halftime. I'm not sure if that was even a better choice. Do I really have to watch the second half? My kids get up so early. Is it worth it? I'm just going to keep being upset.
Happy first game of the season. This is Ryan from Seattle.
Travis from St. Louis.
Steve from Portland.
Pancake Pete.
Chris from Minneapolis.
Lucas from Nashville.
This is John in DC.
There is clearly a Wisconsin-hating quarterback out there residing in Camp Randall that wants to cause hate and destruction.
Why can't Badger fans have nice things?
3 years. 3 straight years.
We've lost our quarterback for 3 years in a row. I'm in deep despair.
Luke Fickell is cursed. Definitely sold his soul to go to the college football playoffs for Cincinnati. Can't believe this guy is allowed to be anywhere near any person under the age of 22.
Clearly there's a nice defensive pass rush, and Mason Riger's pretty good.
And that defense, holy crap. That's a great defense.
We saw everybody whose name we heard during practice got to be on the field, and I like that.
I don't care what the level of competition is. You hold a team to 117 total yards, something's going right.
Thing about watching Danny O'Neal throw hospital balls and almost get his head taken off on all those reckless runs that he takes. Like, it just breathes life into me.
Seeing a short quarterback flutter balls with the number 18 is giving me kind of PTSD from watching Braden Locke.
I did wake up early and watch the second half with coffee instead of beer, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm a little bit encouraged.
Now that I've slept on it, I'm kind of getting a little more excited about Danny O'Neil.
An anemic offense that makes me think I'm watching an Iowa football game.
The new offensive system with a backup quarterback.
The whole offensive line, I don't think Blazek's going to sleep until the next game.
It's the first game of the year. We have to remember that.
You can't tell me you can't just line up under center, hand the ball off, and push a MAC team off the line of scrimmage. This is insane. It is literally insane.
A little bit worried that we weren't able to just run the ball down.
On Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin. I guess. On Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.
I'll tell you, the Alabama game might not be as tough as we thought. Maybe. We'll see. On Wisconsin.
Anyway, on Wisconsin.
Oh, I love it. There's such a variety of emotions.
There are a lot. And in
Yes.
fairness, there's a lot of chronology that plays into some of that. So,
Yeah.
but
Nice
yeah.
work on the mix.
Well, nice work by the people who called in. So thank you all for sharing your thoughts. It always
Yeah.
it legitimately helps us put together an agenda, because as we were just saying before we hit the red button here to start recording, it's like, how do you not talk about too much in week one? And not just so much overreact per se, but sort of not react to everything and figure out what to react to. And I think that kind of helps us. So let's start defensively. Right. I think defensively is a little easier one to manage or to sort of work up from. And I'll ask a simple question to you. Who were you most impressed with on defense? And it doesn't have to be one person. I mean, the way that's phrased sounds like it's one person, but like, what jumped out at you? Because obviously, statistically, it's good. You can't argue against that.
Sure, it's an easy one for me. I mean, there's an actual pass rush. I mean, you take the opponent and, say what you want. And I know there was all new starters for Miami, but DeQuan Finn's he's a mobile quarterback. And I if you watched a lot of other games this weekend against a different defense, I think DeQuan Finn might have had one hell of a game. He's not a bad quarterback, right? Obviously, one of the Badgers were interested in. That's what I would say. The two interceptions that Zachman had, those were pass rush throws, right?
Yes, he had pressure on him, but also I would, on the flip side, say some of the pressures were functions of coverage. I think that's kind of gets lost. Like, I think everybody was so focused on the front seven, but there was multiple occasions where it was simply we were in the 5-second range when you're watching that play, and
the coverage sack or the coverage pressure for sure. Yeah, no, I agree, and that's what you need, right? I mean, we play complimentary football.
Oh, don't
that's
say
complimentary, right?
Don't say that. Don't ever say those words.
On the verboten list.
Every time I hear those words, I want to, I don't know, something. Punch a wall. I'm so tired of those words. But yes.
Verboten list.
In fairness, yes, that is the secondary complementing the defensive line.
Yeah. And if you want to talk about two people, I mean, I think Reiger and Cheeks, I mean, that's they were doing work. And Reiger looks, what I will say too, that I wanted to get out, they looked like they played pissed off. There was no lethargy or there was no nothing. Like they played like they were on a mission. And I think that's a lot of times what you didn't see. And I don't know if once there was a little taste of success, because I don't know if you necessarily need that. But it was relentless. Like it never stopped. At least not from what I saw. So I just think that looks really good. And I'm gonna kind of, I don't know, presage a little bit for some of the rest of the show. But when you look ahead at the schedule and you look at the other games, you look how other teams look. I think one of the overall themes, at least for me this weekend, was the schedule doesn't look maybe quite as bad as it did. And I'm not just talking about Alabama, which we'll get to, but which we really, really need to get to. But that pass rush, that front seven, I thought that was probably the most impressive part of the game for me.
It's interesting to me. I do think, to your point, well, the thing that shocked me, right? So they played 44 snaps on defense,
Mhm.
and just the raw number of bodies that rotated through there, which we can get to later, but it
Sure.
really, the depth chart turned into like we were talking about, or I guess it really did turn into like, this is actually them trying to tell a real story, because if you looked at the snap counts and how it broke down, it really did sort of like cascade down from first to second team and through the oars, and
Yeah, sure.
you're like, oh wow, that's actually how they deployed personnel. But the guy that really jumped out at me is, oh wow, that guy has made a jump, was Sebastian Cheeks. I mean, I know
Yeah,
everybody was
yeah.
talking about Riger, but if you ask me of the two of them who I was more impressed with, straight up, it's Sebastian Cheeks impressed me more. Just the burst on the line is there. He really, it was like, okay, he doesn't have the length of Riger. Like, I get why they liked Riger. He's a big, long
I was gonna
dude.
say I don't wanna talk about, a Watt type of guy, but he's got that kind of body and size, doesn't he?
I was gonna say more like Joe Schobert, to be honest. Like, he
Yeah, you think
reminds
so?
me of Schobert with the
Y
length.
Yeah, okay. Either way,
Yeah.
he's a big guy. He's a
Yeah.
load.
Yeah, he's a big, and it's like, it's the big, broad shoulders and long arms.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he's
yeah,
got the
yep,
wide
those are
upper
the 2 things.
frame, but
Yeah.
he kind of like, not thins, but narrows as he goes down. So I think it just gives him a little more quickness. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, see how much he can do. But he does intrigue me. But again, the one that really jumped out to me was Cheeks. And then the other guy that I was really impressed with on defense, more from, not in my mind that he got so much better, but more because, okay, the rest of the defense makes a little more sense around him, and I can really see how he can impact the game, was Christian Allegro. Because
Yeah.
on
Oh, yeah.
multiple read options, I mean, like, I think there was 2 or 3 of them, he is staying home on Finn, and then Finn executes the handoff on the zone read, and Allegro then goes and takes the running back. he forces the handoff and then makes the tackle and either stuffs it or knocks it for a loss. And he's got speed to the edge. Really looked good. And when they did use him in pressure situations, he has edge burst like an outside linebacker. He is kind of like, oh, I get what they've been trying to do with that linebacker position. And clearly it's having a little bit more around it has helped him. So, yes.
I'm glad you brought that up because, I was talking about the pass rush, but the front 7, the run defense, when you're playing a quarterback like that and they're trying to run an offense like that, gosh, I mean, how many times have fans of this particular team seen that kind of offense and that kind of quarterback just not just annoy them, but shred them?
Yeah.
And I get it. I get it. It's Miami, but there's I'm not going to be surprised if Miami, if they don't go back to the MAC championship. I think they'll be a bowl team again, just because there is talent there. It's not like you looked and they're like, oh, these guys suck. It's just they haven't played together, and the Badgers' defense was just markedly improved. I think you can't you can't just to stay on the defense and let's just cover the whole thing. Is you talked about the coverage sack, and I do think, or the coverage pressure anyway. Zachman was the man on the spot, and he looked like he picked up right where he left off last year and might even be better. And, I know this is your favorite, but he was the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week. Even after the Ohio State Texas game, like, that game was like defense, 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 defense. It's a national game. Or Michigan or any of those. And here we are, week 1 with Preston Zachman. It's just kind of funny, you worry about defense, and the Badgers took the week 1 Player of the Week award on defense.
Well, I mean, I think it really helps when you can't really not give it to the guy who has 2 interceptions. I don't think
100%.
anybody
Yeah, no, I know.
had multiple. Even if admittedly, the first one is very, very impressive. The second one, and it's not taking anything away from it, but that was like sort of a moonshot, up in the air, desperation heave.
It was, but it was also a guy who got moved out of the pocket and who has made those kind of throws before.
I understand.
Yeah.
But that was pressure in his face, and he's
starting
to lean back, and it's launched. And it's not taking anything away from the interception. It's kind of like, okay, there's a lot of time on, there's a lot of hang time.
Oh yeah. And it is that both of those interceptions were on the whole defense. But Zachman was the man on the spot, and Zachman's the guy who's in the stat sheet for it. I think too, just really quick on Zachman, is that in all the previews and stuff, and everybody's talking, and he wasn't like under the radar or anything, but when you talked about the back ends and safeties of strength, I mean, it's Austin Brown, I think, got a lot more of the attention and the words than Zachman did.
I think part of it is, Zachman he is again of those sort of like that category of those deep safeties that they've had. We've talked about it before. Torchio and Musos, who get big stats, and you're like, yes, I get that they get the stat sheet number, but maybe that's not like, they're not the best guy in the secondary. The difference here, I would say, is, I mean, Zachman is definitely a significant step above those guys, I think, in terms of ability and versatility. Because, for instance, like, I was thinking about him compared to Colin Wilder, like use him, because I think Wilder was a step above those guys, but also was a little bit different. And Wilder was much more the Austin Brown.
Well, and a thumper too. Like,
and
I think Wilder's thing was, it was, and he did have plenty of interceptions, but Zachman's made some thumps like that. It's just like not the part of the game when you think of Colin Wilder, you think of, that hurt.
Well, I mean, I guess my point is, like, I look at Zachman, he's much more of a natural cover guy versus sort of almost like a star or a, like a big, strong safety. But yeah, so I think there's not too much else there. I do think the corner situation with Hill and Agard, I was trying to figure out if they're feeling it out or what the thought process is there, because Hill did play, I think 29 snaps of the 44. They really didn't have that many defensive snaps.
No, that's true.
And I think Agard played about 15, according to our friends at Pro Football Focus. So I that kind of makes sense. Looking at Agard, you look at him and you say, okay, he I don't like to make the comparison, but he really does. It's the same body as Xavier Lucas. It's kind of the same place. Like, he plays with confidence the way Lucas did. And again, we all forget, but Xavier Lucas's snap counts, they were only moving in one direction as the season progressed last year. So you go, okay, that's a pretty good audition as far as I'm concerned. He looks like the moment didn't look too big. So
no, not at all. Not at all. And I think, my sum up thoughts on there are I still feel the same way, that against most of the schedule, whichever guy it is. And I think you're right about Agard. He the moment didn't look too big, and he played with a mean streak too.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a willing tackler. Let's just say, like, he was throwing his body around on some of those plays that I think they'll be okay at that spot. I think the other thing, though, too, and, not to dwell on it, and we'll see what happens with Forkerine, but, like, when you see DeQuan Finn on the other side of the field and you looked at the resume between the two of them, and, like, I'm just talking years in college and playing eligibility, like, what the hell? Like, the whole Forkerine situation just seems like the NCAA just has, like, Wisconsin has bad luck with it for some reason, and all the other games you watch, and there's like 6th, 7th year players all over the place. And it's just, the whole thing seems really weird to me. It's like, basketball, like the Micah Potter thing, the guy had to sit out and wait all this time, and Justin Fields just goes right from Georgia to Ohio State. And this is, before the transfer portal kind of thing. And, oh, okay, that's all right. Just very weird. And to see, and I just thought it was an interesting comparison to see DeQuan Finn's resume versus Forkerine. And, well, DeQuan Finn, yeah, that's great. Go ahead, knock it out. Whatever.
Let's go to the offense.
Yeah.
Let's start simply this way because, this is how you start, I guess. Let's talk about quarterbacks. I would like to talk about Billy Edwards and Danny O'Neil.
Well, I
And
think you have to, Bo.
I do think here's what I will say. I saw a lot more negative or meh about Billy Edwards than I thought I would.
Yeah,
especially after the game.
Yeah.
Because he only played 28 snaps, but I have to say this. I know his line is nothing to get excited about. What was his line? It was 6 for 13 for 68 yards. I will say this, having watched those 28 snaps, confirmed everything I thought he'd be. He's not a superstar. He missed a throw deep. He underthrew it a little bit. He had a man there.
Yeah.
But making allowances for the fact that left tackle was a turnstile. And, like on that first possession, he had the RPO he pulls, and what's that guy's name that was eating up Heinzen all day? Adam Trick, yeah.
Trick.
That he's in his face in a second and a half, and he has, Vinny Anthony on this RPO wide open with the defensive back 15 yards downfield, which I don't really understand why they kept doing that in coverage.
And Vinny Anthony.
Yeah. And he's just throwing it into the guy's hands because he's there in a second. Like, there's so much of that in the stat sheet where you're like, oh, he's reacting to the fact that they cannot block this guy on the edge. I thought he was really good. I thought he looked like a guy who understood the offense, was in command of the offense. He was pulling the football when he should. He was handing it off when he should. And he just looked like that guy. The only thing that gives me pause was obviously with the knee thing, this was a lingering thing from camp. So all the talk of everything's fine. Yeah, sure. Whatever.
Oh, it's not the case.
It does take away some of his mobility. It's gonna, whenever he comes back, it's gonna be a question for you. And that is part to me of his selling point was he's not like lanky and as athletic as Mordecai, but he can move. He's way more natural than Tyler Van Dyke was at it. Like, he's just more athletic than Tyler Van Dyke. So it wasn't going to be that weird square peg round hole where they had Van Dyke running those stupid zone reads. But like I was in. Like, he looks the part of a quarterback. I looked at him and I said, he just looks like a quarterback. He did not have the Braden Locke.
Yeah. Nope, I agree. And the stat wise too, and how things would have gone. Setting health aside, and if he's still playing his game, I think it would have been improved over as the game went on. There were some jitters, just because it's the first quarter of the first game of the season, and I think once he would have settled in a little bit, I think he would have got better, and I think he would have had at least that's what I think.
Again, I don't even think he was bad.
No, I don't think so either. I'm just saying he would have. You look at the line for what he played. I think the stat line would have improved had the game as
gotcha.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right, so let's move to the guy that played the balance of the game. What did you think of Danny O'Neil?
I thought that dude has zip. He has energy, and he is just spunky. He reminded me of like freaking Doug Flutie with his size. And honestly, like, as the first series when he was in there, I'm like, okay, this is a little bit better. I don't know why the hell he chose to wear number 18. It's just dumb. But I don't know. I'm probably crazy, but I liked it a lot. And it was just, the dude he's got spunk and energy, and I don't know. I'm thinking, as I'm watching the Alabama Florida State game, I'm like, well, that Castellanos guy, like, I think he and O'Neil are the same size. I don't know. He's probably a little bit better, but if you watch that, I'm thinking, dude, we could do that. We could do that. We could do that. We could do that. I don't know if it's going to be O'Neil who's going to play against Alabama, but I don't know. I mean, once he settles in a little bit, I thought that what did Fickle say? Like, he played like 15% of the snaps, which makes sense, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot there to work on with him, and if he's got like the classic, week 1 to week 2 improvement, kind of thing. And I mean, he was I think the more impressive thing with him is obviously the red zone interception was lame. And if he looks at it again, there were other options on that. And you made the point, he's like a one read guy. Um, which can you improve on that? Maybe. Can you live with it? Maybe. But I the sudden change thing, and we were joking about, the Monty Ball situation, but like the air went out of the stadium and he reinflated it, especially in the second half. And again, the risky passes, okay, okay, that's fine. I get it. You could point that out, but he just brought a lot of energy. And you're worried about, I mean, it's game one, but you like the whole thing is the quit or the all that. Like that didn't happen and it could have. I mean, losing Billy Edwards Jr. like that for this fan base and for this team, for Fickle and his staff just gotta be like, what the hell, right? And they still managed to put stuff together, and with O'Neill's energy, and he does have some resourcefulness too. I mean, and it's not also, this is why the left tackle position is going to be a real problem, because some of those, some of those sacks were bad. I can't remember the really bad one that was like a 15-20 yard loss. I don't know if that was on the left tackle. I didn't think it was, if my recollection served, but the rest of it was. So as far as like Danny O'Neill himself, he ain't no Braden Locke. Let's just say that. And I'm very happy with that. And as the game went on, especially once they got points on the board and the game started to be much more well in hand and it's not 3-0 anymore, I'm like, I like this kid. I was pretty happy. You can ask my wife.
So he's hard to like put your finger on what is okay, because he legitimately could have had 3 picks in that game, one of them being a pick six.
Oh yeah, no doubt, yeah.
But there is something.
But he didn't.
He didn't. Here's what hang with me for a second. I have 2 cats, right?
Yes.
I have this one cat, Fitzgerald. All right. Fitz is one of these rescue cat type things. When we adopted him, he was in this hoarding house. Okay. Fitz has one eye that's in there theoretically, but like it's in there. It never opens. You never see it. Like this goo comes out of it all the time that you're always kind of clean. He has this medication thing.
Yeah.
He also is probably inbred because he walks with all his toes pointed in, and he kind of just like wobbles around. He also has distemper, so he has no depth perception. So like if he jumps, he misses everything and like lands and goes flying. He's also pretty much, because he's only got the one eye, he's kind of blind, we figured out, because he just will freak out if like something goes flying, like a piece of dust moves through the air near him and he like takes off and runs across the house. Like he is a fragile cat in certain ways. Like he's small and scrawny. But we had this raccoon on our patio like a little while ago. This was probably like back in the spring. And he saw this thing and he went charging at the glass and like threw his body into the glass and just kept doing it. And this raccoon looked at him. This is a big, like 20-pound raccoon.
Yeah.
And he's like 11 pounds. He's small. Like he is scrawny. And this thing looked at him and was like, I don't want any part of that. And then just turned and left. And I am 100% confident that cat would have gone out there and beat the you-know-what out of the thing, because he's got like that, I don't know how to put it, but this blind, scrawny cat has got crazy in it.
Yeah.
That is Danny O'Neill. It's the hair. It's, as Ryan in Seattle said, it's the ridiculous throws into coverage to like Grant Steck that's like threading a needle, and then that
was a dive too, by the way.
I'm gonna scramble, and you know what?
Yeah,
I'm gonna dive head first. The hell with it. I'm throwing my 190-pound body into this linebacker. I don't care. And for some reason, you're just like, he's gonna get up fine. Like he's gonna be fine. Like he has a vibe. I am all in on the Danny
I
O'Neil
love it.
vibe.
He has a vibe, but yeah, that's I love it. Yes,
Like,
you're right. He has a vibe.
I think there is a very real possibility statistically he's not going to, I hate to say this, that much better than Braden Locke, but you're never going to get the 1,000-yard stare. You're never going to feel like the game's too big for him. He's going to be like, I don't care. Like, it's very much when you watch the San Diego State games last year, you're like, it's not too big for him. So again, I will give them this, the baseline of what they've figured out at that position, just to have like they're both complementary guys. Oh, I just hit Toner's button. Sorry, Toner. But I think that's Toner telling me stop talking about your cat in week 1. But I don't have a better comparison to make than my psychotic murder cat. But that's kind of the vibe for Danny O'Neil for me. Thus concludes my TED Talk.
Well, and the Wisconsin Badgers and their fan base are just not used to seeing that at the quarterback position. It's refreshing, I think it was Nate when we were talking that said something about Tyler Donovan, just in terms of that kind of mobility and just moxie is, that's the word that kept coming up as moxie. And
yeah,
he just has that. And you're right. Like he goes head first and you're like, yeah, he's going to get up just fine.
And like, I guess if you can to actually try to say something substantive about him, yes, he is a one read. He was basically a one read and go guy. Mm-hmm. That's what that I honestly don't even hate the pick in the end zone. I didn't even notice if there were alternatives because it was whatever. I mean, there's going to be a turnover there. It doesn't mean anything.
And make no mistake, it was, the alternatives, whatever, the read thing. I also thought it was just kind of he miscalculated on the pass because it was kind of lofted. You know what I mean? But go ahead.
The only thing I would say is like, he's a one read and go guy. If you can get him to one read, check down and go, you're probably in reasonable shape because that's all you're going to need out of the offense is, I mean, just based on what we've seen so far, it's going to be RPOs, which are basically a single read, right? You're just looking, okay, are they up on Vinny Anthony or are they up on whomever?
Yeah.
If they are, pull the ball and throw it.
And those have been pretty effective for most of the teams that use them with a modicum of talent. Yeah.
And they were effective on Thursday. So no issue there. And then it's really in a true passing situation, he's got a guy, can he check down? Like that would be really all he really needs is to add that element. And you're probably functional enough. So anyways, enough on Danny O'Neil and my cat and his awesome two-tone hair, which I do dig. It all works. It would not work for me with anybody else except it works because of it's Danny O'Neil. Like, I just want you to know, dude. Yeah, I'm all in on just the vibe works.
Same.
All right. Other big piece of offense we got to talk about. We don't need to talk about Davis Heinsohn being bad. Everybody else will cover that. The part that I think is a better conversation to have, what do you do going forward, right? Like, what are your alternatives? Because tell me if there's anything I'm missing, and then we can talk through them. It's obviously he stays at left tackle because they thought he was their best option going into this. You swap in Leighton Nelson, which they did for the last 7 snaps of the game on offense. He played, I think, the last 2 possessions, if I'm not mistaken. You slide out Joe Brunner, backfill at guard. I guess JP Benchwall could be swapping over, but you could lump him with Nelson as like which one of these guys could be the tackle, but Benchwall's on the other side. And then one that I didn't put in the talk around because it was more of a question, but was why don't you just swap Riley Mahlman over to left tackle because left tackle is more important than right. So let's walk through them. Like, what do you think? What are your ideas? Because again, we don't need to say he's bad. We know he's bad.
Nelson didn't come in until the very end. The fact that he didn't come in until the very, very end was kind of weird to me.
And they left the other 4 in. I think that's the notable part.
There's that. Yeah. That's definitely notable. But it was only the last 7 snaps of a decided game, which makes me go back to option number 1 and what I was like my gut response when you started this topic was, do you think he can get better? Is there improvement there? I don't know how you get better because so many of those things seem to be like physical
Yeah.
rather than I don't know what I'm doing. Emerson Mandel, that's I'm still learning kind of thing. I'm not as worried about him, and the physical aspect didn't seem to be lacking. And Adam Trick's I'm surprised he's playing for Miami, but I mean, he was really having his way with them. And I think if you leave him in, they're gonna have to do things to compensate for that and running. Well, I should say this too, like in the run game, I don't know if he was that bad. And you looked at the grades. I honestly didn't have a chance to look at the grades. I don't know what his run grade was, but I don't think they like stayed away from his side necessarily with running plays.
I mean, with him, I don't know what his run number was, whatever on Focus, but the thing that I found, none of them were particularly high, none of them were particularly low. I just know Jake Renfro graded out the highest.
Right.
But,
yeah. Right. That's what I heard. Yeah. And again, I didn't look at him, but yeah.
But the thing I think you'd notice it was with Mandel. Like the reason you're okay with Mandel was when they asked him just to go straight north-south, like take the guy in front of you, blew him off the ball, had no problem.
Yeah, right.
Where he, had struggles and where it was a challenge is when they started pulling him.
Mm-hmm.
And he wouldn't get to his block, or once he had to move his feet more than forward, it got hard. That's just a young player and footwork and blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
Heinzen was similar. If he was blocking straight ahead, he was okay. Like he was okay, but as soon as there was any kind of movement, like if they went at him, and it was written in the practice reports, when you had an edge rusher who would just try to basically speed rush him from the outside, he couldn't keep up.
Right.
And that's what was happening to him.
Right.
And it really didn't matter who it was, because when Miami would stunt, the guy that would stunt into him would get by him, even if it didn't show up.
Yeah, right.
And it was rough. And like you said, with him, number one, he's a grad, right? Like he's a 6-year guy.
Yeah.
How much better can you get?
Right. Yeah.
You are what you are.
Which is why I thought it was interesting that they didn't put in Nelson earlier.
The only thing I'm wondering is maybe with Nelson, remember, it's coming back off of, what did he do? Was it an ACL last year? I mean, he had a season ender. I don't know if they ever said what it was.
Yeah.
Something in that realm of severity. Let's just call it that. I'm wondering if it's, can Heinzen bridge them to Like, I have a feeling this was, let's see what Nelson looks like at game speed. I mean, looking through him, like if you slide out Brunner, Kadanko's hurt, right? Because Kadanko's the logical one to slot in.
I know.
And honestly, Kadanko lost the guard, race to Mandel. And you see I think if Kadanko was executing better on the pulls and things like that, he probably would have gotten the edge, because I'm sure north-south, they're equal, or Mandel is better just he just looks physically there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that tells you, okay, what Kadanko is at guard. And then, JP Benchwall, I think if he was, good, like they thought he had something, he wouldn't be the backup right tackle right now. That would have already happened. Like they could have in spring I just keep going back to with what happened to Haywood. They had time to say, okay, what do we have on the roster that could slide over there?
Yes.
And they, you don't have, like, Barrett Nelson is in street clothes. JP Benchwall is a backup out there. JP Benchwall is on the kick unit on field goal extra point.
Mm-hmm.
And they know what he is. And Leighton Nelson was there, and they said, we got to go out. And it was not, we got to go out and get somebody to back up. They brought him in and they said, he's here to try to start.
Yep.
And so I look at all of those. And then the last one, I think moving Malman, I think the calculation there is, one, he's been at this position for 3 years. Don't move him. And he's good. Sort of like that Rob Havenstein level, if not a little better. And Rob Havenstein's still playing in the NFL. So I think all of the other ones, I think you're just moving around your issues. So I think they're trying to isolate. And I think the honest, simplest solution is hope that Leighton Nelson gets better. And I think they're gonna like. I bet you this week. I don't know what you think. I bet they might even like split snaps.
I
type
wouldn't
of
be
thing.
surprised. Well, it's Middle Tennessee State who got beat by Austin P. Which I
Exactly.
thought was an interesting result from
Yeah.
week one. Yeah, I think you might be right about that. And to your point too, I don't like moving Brunner. I don't like moving Bowman. I don't like that. It's an isolated problem, and I think you set down a cascade with the whole damn line if you start doing that. And when you have plus guys like Brunner and Malman, like they're plus
Agreed.
linemen, right? And Mandel is just young. I think he'll just get better as long as he goes. The thing that I was trying to think of is if there was anybody really, really young, like true freshman or redshirt freshman that was in there, and obviously not because you'd heard about it, during camp, and
They're behind these guys, right? Like they haven't been able to pass.
that's
them,
what
so
right. That's what I mean. You'd have heard about it by now, but that's what that was the other thought that I had is who would be that guy? Is it Logan Powell? That keeps popping in my head.
Nolan Davenport. I mean, like who are the tall ones?
Yeah. Yes. Right. That's right. That's
You're kind of like
And I don't know
grasping.
if I mean, presumably the whole point is, you'll have Haywood back. Which, man, does that suck? I said it in my
Yep.
putting together the agenda, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like I think with Haywood there, they'd have 3+ linemen, not just 2.
I mean, I think he would be at least like I think he would be. I don't know if he'd be plus, but at least I think it would be more. I just think if he was there, it would look a little more stable because the drop off is so glaring and the holes that it creates.
Sure.
I mean, everybody I know left tackle. I get it, but just in what they're doing with the offense, it really hurts them because so much of what they're doing requires 5 of them to execute.
My guess is I think you're right, and I think they'll probably alternate snaps next week, but I don't think they're going to move anybody in there, and I think they got to ride with one of the 2, and you just go from there. It stinks because it's going to be a handicap with other, with having to help and losing, the flexibility of another player on offense, another player behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, well, I mean, to your point, like who do they use? I was pulling this up while you were talking. I think looking at the extra point unit or the field goal
Yeah.
unit is very
Yeah.
telling. Who are the linemen they're using? And I just
Yeah.
looked it up. So they had 3 snaps, right? They used all the same guys. It's Mandel, Joe Brunner, Davis Heinsohn, Riley Mallman, Colin Cubberly. There's your young guy. He played 3 snaps.
Well,
on the field goal
and if
unit.
I looked at the depth chart last night,
Mhm.
prepping for the show, and Cubberly's stats are almost identical. They're both 6'6" and 310.
Yeah, basically.
to Davis Heinsohn.
But he's a guard.
I know that, but yeah,
So
but
I
but
don't
bodies,
think-
they're the size of their body.
Yeah, but I don't think you're making that move now.
No,
That's-
I don't think so
yeah,
either.
To your point, I think again, you had the line. It's like you use the same word I was thinking, which is just you have to isolate the problem. The problem is just you're isolating it to a very vital position. That's
Yeah,
nice.
well, it's you're containing the contagion.
Yes. All right.
But either way, it's going to be a problem.
Only other thought only thing I wanted to touch on quickly because we went
Sure.
over because I yapped too long there about my cat. The depth chart and the number of players they used. Do you know on defense of the guys on the 2 deep, they played 26 of them. There's only 3 guys on the 2 deep that didn't play from scrimmage. 2 of them played on special teams.
I didn't look at the counts, but you could see just by watching TV, and there's another number that you saw, and another number, and another number, and another number, and yeah.
Yeah, the only guys who didn't play from scrimmage were Mason Posa, who didn't play any snaps as far as I can tell. Jameer Scott, who played on special teams, and Karis Gaines, who played on special teams. And then one guy who wasn't on the 2 deep, who did play one snap, was Nick Clayton on the defense. And then on the offense, everybody played except for the backup offensive lineman, save Leighton Nelson. And I think was a strategic long-term test reason for that, or I think they would have swapped them all. And then the only other guy who didn't play was Crowdus, who was an or at wide receiver, and Eugene Hilton played a dozen snaps instead. Mm-hmm. So interesting to watch. A little trivia question for you. Mm-hmm. It's always like interesting to get like what your impression is, because my impression was not this. They had 78 offensive snaps. Okay. The 4 linemen played 78. Heinzen played 71. Excluding them and excluding quarterbacks, who played the most snaps on offense?
And it's going to surprise me because I would say it would be Vinny Anthony.
It's not going to surprise you because that's who it is.
Yeah, okay.
Now, here's the tricky one.
Yeah, okay.
He played 51 of 78, by the way. Do you know who played the second most offensive snaps outside of the
Jones?
guy? No, that's what I would have guessed. He played 31. Darian Dupree played 28. Would you have thought they almost split snaps?
Nope.
And watching then came Yakimelli?
No, watching the Yakimelli was in there a lot.
23. They really
he was in there plenty, which I thought was very cool because what I kind of thought is that he'd be like fourth quarter fresh legs kind of dude.
Yeah.
And did number 10 play? Did he have any snaps? I don't remember seeing him on the field.
Nope.
Yep. Okay. That kind of surprised me.
Who was it then? After Vinny Anthony, this guy played 47 snaps.
Stretch.
No, he played 38. There's a guy with 47 and a guy with 45, and then I'll give it up. But I just was curious.
Aker?
Would not have. Aker played 45, and there's one guy who played 47. And I would never have guessed this in 1,000 years. I would have guessed maybe 30.
I'm running down the list now.
We really are.
It's not Grant Steck, is it?
No, Grant Steck played 29.
Okay. Boy, you got to tell me now.
Lance Mason. He played 47 snaps.
You should have said, you're on the right track with Aker and Steck.
But it really did surprise me that the two that really jumped out was I didn't think Aker played that many snaps. And I didn't think Lance Mason played that many snaps.
I didn't think Mason did either, but you did see him a lot. Did you think he was okay?
He blocked reasonably well.
Yeah, I thought so too. Like there wasn't any time where I was mad at him and anything like that. And I think I felt like he had one drop pass, or it was one that was really hard to catch, and it was like the pass wasn't good. He didn't have a catch. So it was 2 targets. And then, like I said, I think one he dropped that he had both hands on. It would have been a semi-difficult catch. But then the other one was not on him. It was a crappy pass, which is also interesting because 2 targets for that guy, supposed to be the pass catcher of the tight ends, right?
Well, you know what, though? What's interesting to me, the question I have is when Tucker Ashcraft comes back, I am very curious what happens here because Grant Steck is quite clearly going to be nipping at the heels of everybody. Defensively, it was very interesting to me. Just again, same thing with snap distribution. Only 44 snaps. Which defensive lineman played the most snaps?
Reiger.
Would you call him a lineman? I call him a linebacker.
Okay, fine. All right.
But he did not play the most of any linebacker.
Ben Barton.
Here's the funny thing. He played 12 snaps.
Okay.
I mean, he was down there. He was the starter, but he's in the same sort of realm as like Charles Perkins, who played 9, Dylan Johnson. It sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
Of like the big boys, it sucks. He played 18. If you want to call Daryl Peterson a lineman, because he really okay, but if you're calling Rieger a lineman, DP was way more of a line. I mean, he's playing down.
Was he? Yeah.
I mean, it's basically like formationally, it's a 3-4 kind of over, but they mostly sat in a nickel because it was 11 personnel the whole time. But like when they did go a little heavier, like it wasn't a lot. It was like 3 times. You're like, oh, it's a 3-4 over. This is like 2014. They can call it whatever they want. And then I think it's interesting. Aaron Witt only played 1 snap. And I think with Witt, you're mostly just talking about personnel matchups. Like it's a lot of 11 personnel. probably plays more against Iowa. That's sort of his role. That's sort of what was talked about. Maybe don't read a ton into him playing one snap. But so one question for you. How much do you take from this game, couching it in first game of the year, blah, 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 given the opponent?
I still think Miami will wind up being a bowl team. And a lot of that was just the fact that the roster, especially the starters, were completely remade over. I didn't think you saw like a massive talent disparity. I forget which one of the callers into the talk around had said something about you're not pushing around a MAC defensive line, and that's not a bottom of the barrel team, even though there's a ton of roster turnover. So
I'm in a little bit different spot than you. I think with the defense, look, if the defense is good and the offense is bad, which I honestly think I don't think that offense is very good. It looks pretty disjointed. I know who Finn is and all that, but it was really bad in that game. But if that's the case, if you're a good defense, you should dominate the game, which they absolutely did. They showed you they can dominate a line of scrimmage. Do I think they're going to be doing that to Alabama? No. But do I think it shows me like, okay, they have something here that can, punch? Absolutely. The part where I don't take a lot is on the offensive side of the ball. I think they actually, if they can figure out left tackle a little bit, they can run the ball. Like they're set up to run the ball. Well. Not going to get into it. We were like, what did we not talk about? One of the things we're not talking about directly this week is the running backs, who I think are very good.
Yes.
And
all three of the running backs that played looked fantastic.
Yes.
Or looked excellent, I should say.
So I am like, I think if they can get that sorted, they can run the ball. But that was a defense ready to give up points. And they did not score a lot of points. And I think going into halftime, 3-0, injury or not, gave me some pause.
They chewed up a lot of yards in the first half, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got 3 points. All right.
Yep.
But so
Yes.
last before we put this game away, you're under the radar player of the game. Who do you have?
The one guy that I didn't get a chance to talk about was Tack Curtis. The comment that I was going to make is that I think he's going to he's going to have some games where he's okay or he's never going to get whipped. He's going to over pursue and miss stuff and whatever. But I think he's going to have one of those games at some point in time where he is the over the radar player of the game and has like a, Big Ten defensive player of the week kind of game.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd go with him.
Second most snaps on defense with 39.
Right. Yeah. And that's under the radar because there wasn't a lot of shine, but he didn't mess anything up. And how many rushing yards did the Badgers give up? He's in on that.
Mine is on the other side of the ball. And for a couple reasons. One, I will say this guy who did play last year looked so much better than he did last year. And two, his game is remarkably complete. And my pick is Darian Dupree because no one talked about him. And the reason I liked him, not so much for how he ran, because quite frankly, he looked like he just looks like a better back. You're like, oh, that guy, he made a jump. Like the pad level's better. He's not upright.
Yep.
There's he just to the hole more naturally. He's just not trying to out athlete everybody. The feet kept moving. There's no dancing. He is going north south. He's doing more mature running back things.
Yeah.
But the thing that jumped out to me, that dude is a very solid pass blocker. He took on full speed linebackers without any hesitation and stood them up. He has one play where you could say his guy gets the sack, but it's mostly because Danny O'Neal is running away from the guy that Davis Heinsohn let through. So he's positioned properly. He can't see what's happening. O'Neal feels the pressure, and he kind of drifts into the guy that Dupree is blocking. But he looked really, really, really nice. They are a really nice complementary pair. And the fact that he played as much as he did is a very good sign to me. Like it really felt like he was going to fall back, and the snap counts are pretty close.
I think the other thing you have to add there too is if it's going to be Danny O'Neil here for the foreseeable future. Certainly next week, I don't know about Alabama, but you know, there's a whole rest of the offense that we'll have to pick up as well. And I thought the running backs and receivers all did a pretty good job.
The last thing before we go, your big games in the B1G. We won't talk about everything. What did you? Well, I think there's really only one question to ask.
Yeah,
is what do you make of the Alabama loss? Because that's really the only one that matters in the near.
For me, watching what Florida State did to them, all I kept thinking was the Badgers can do that.
Do you?
I mean, the pass rush was relentless. And I know Florida State's got dudes, but I mean, how much of that team they're coming off 2-10. And I don't know how much of that defense was completely rebuilt, because it's not like Florida State didn't have talent last year or didn't have a whole bunch of 4-stars in its lineup that went 2-10. So, and all I could think of was, dude, Mason Reagor and Cheeks can do that. Which is to say, Alabama's offensive line is not like what you saw last year, or in years past, I should say. They were getting pushed around. That quarterback was under pressure all of the time. The way Wisconsin's pass rush looked, yeah, that's Miami. I get it. But if they're able to do 80% of what Florida State did, it'll change the game. And then the quarterback, same thing. Like, I'm just thinking, dude, Danny O'Neil could be that guy. It's a Boston College transfer.
Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah, he looked great, but he was just like the same size and had kind of he's a little bit faster. And then the other thing that I saw too, this isn't so much Alabama, but I was just seeing, did you watch the Sunday night game with Miami and Notre Dame?
Half of it.
Yeah, that number 10 for Miami. If I know it's Carson Beck, and I know it's a little bit different of an offensive scheme, but if you can get the ball in Tretch's hands, like that's exactly the kind of stuff you can see Tretch doing.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some plays for Florida State like that where if they can get dudes like Darian Dupree and Tretch the ball with some space, I just don't think this game is nearly as intimidating as it once was. And Alabama is far from invincible. And who cares if Alabama winds up going 7-5 the rest of the way? If Wisconsin can go down there and win, which looks a lot more realistic than it did on Saturday morning, yeah, I think it's a good thing. Yeah, it wasn't just Alabama. It was that there was a lot of things I saw just between the Wisconsin games and the other games that happened, that just, like I said, it's a lot more positives than negatives. But Alabama certainly doesn't seem to be Alabama anymore. And yeah, they're freaking out down there. It's an odd time to go down there. You know what I think the last thing is too, is that as many guys that came back, it's not like Alabama's was a complete, that's not a roster turnover like Florida State, right?
Right.
Or even Wisconsin to some extent. But they played them last year. They looked them in the eyes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's not, I just don't think the intimidation factor will be there. Like, do you know what I mean? Because they played them last year. Like, they've been across the sideline and on the field with that team.
I think it's more telling to me is what happens this week for them. I some of it just maybe, I mean, here's the reality. This may be a shocker, but replacing Nick Saban's hard. And,
yeah, right.
When that guy goes, he really didn't. I mean, at the end stages, he had this, but it was not a team built around elite quarterback. I mean, he won national titles with guys you don't remember the names of at quarterback.
Yeah.
And
like Sims.
Like Ty Simpson they don't have superior quarterback play. The defense looks okay, right? And the line looks okay. And you wonder, like, there's talented pieces. I mean, Ryan Williams is still Ryan Williams. We'll see what it does. We'll see how it bounces back. But it's more like, do they have some kind of existential crisis because of sort of like what Fickle has seen the last couple of years, just because for them, the invincibility balloon deflates. And does that get in their heads?
Right.
So,
right.
I don't know if it's like, oh, wow, I think they got a shot at this one yet. I'm not really ready to say that.
I gave them 1 out of 5 before.
Fair enough.
Now it's a little, and it certainly isn't nearly as intimidating. By the same token, probably less enthused about playing Oregon and Ohio State.
Yeah.
and Michigan. I thought Michigan looked pretty good.
Well, the other thing I'll say, I don't know about, Ohio State won a game because they got, what is it, 3 fourth and goal stops. I mean, they should have lost that game.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I get it.
You don't get 3 4th and short goal line stops very often. If that's your formula to win by 7 points, that is threading a needle. I bet they were below 50% win probability in that game. I haven't looked actually at any of the numbers, but yeah. So either way, week 1, I'm not taking a ton. We'll see. I think on that, have we hit we've hit too much already.
I think, no. It's
right.
We're good.
Almost had a near disaster technical issue that we've overcome. My heart palpitations have stopped. For the listeners who don't know, you're not even going to notice the seamless transition from when my computer decided to crap the bed.
No, you're good. You rescued it.
We did. All right. Well, I think on that note, until the next time, Max, I got to go cut out all your cursing earlier in the show.
Until the next time, and on to the next.
All right, bye-bye.
All right.
Enjoy the conversation? Head on over to buckaroundpodcast.com to find all the ways to connect with the show, links to our Patreon page, and feeds for every major podcasting platform. We want to thank each and every one of our patrons. You make this podcast possible. This has been The Buck Around, Badger football analysis from a fan perspective.